Chadwick Miti, they're live from City Hall for us, and we can now confirm that workers in the Nairobi Deputy Governor's office have not been fired. The office has not been locked, and operations are ongoing as normal. Remember, Nairobi Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe tendered his resignation on the 12th of January, citing citing failure to earn the trust of his boss, Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko. Efforts are underway to reconcile the two in an effort to govern Nairobi County. A report we're keeping a keen eye on right here on KTN News. Now, the provincial administration in Naivasha has launched a crackdown on illicit brews. Speaking in Karagita area, where hundreds of litres of chang'aa are nabbed, government officers said they will not relent on the war against illicit brew. They say the crackdown will continue in other areas as they seek to flush out perpetrators of the trade.
Hatuwezi kubali watoto waharibike sababu ya watu wachache. Tutamaliza hii pombe, tutamaliza hii bangi, tutashika wale watu wanafanya hiyo uhalifu na tuwapeleke kotini. Lakini request yetu sisi wote kama watu wa serikali, wananchi mtusaidie. Na mkitusaidia na information, at the same time mtusaidie hata na kuchika, tuchike hawa watu sisi wote. Si hata wataogopa wakiona wananchi wameamua. Si ni kweli? Wananchi wakiamua ama hamjaamua, basi tunashikana sisi wote, tunamaliza hii kazi yote ya kazi ya pombe.
Na ni kweli tumepata pombe hapa zaidi ya pombe lita 600 ya Kangara, over 600 liters of Kangara. Madramu umeona ndio hiyo, tumemwaka ingine huko, na pia tumepata chang'aa. Pia chang'aa ile ambayo imepikwa tumepata kiasi ya 60 liters. 120 liters ambayo tumepata. Mwenyewe ametoroka, lakini nimeamrisha polisi na wazee wa vijiji lazima atafutwe.
And a look at news making headlines from the courts. Two touts belonging to Marimba Investments were arraigned in court to face murder charges. George Irungu Maina and Ian Mbogwa appeared before Lady Justice Jessie Lesit, but did not plead charges since they did not have a lawyer. The two are accused of killing Joseph Ngede Kiaria on the 24th of December. They will be remanded at the Industrial Area Prison until January 24th, when the case will be mentioned.
Sasa mtasoma ile kosa linawaleta hapa kwa kotini, lakini hamtahitajika. Na wamaliza kufanya
And in the coast, Kwale residents are up in arms against the prolonged water shortage in the county due to the high cumulative bills owed to the Kenya Power by the Kwale Water Company, Kowasco. Kowasco had accumulated an electricity bill of 10 million shillings, which led to power disconnection in all water pumping stations in the county. Residents demonstrated, demanding the resignation of the company's management, blaming them of mismanagement. However, County Executive Committee member in charge of water, Hemed Babudzo, said the persistent water scarcity in Kwale was caused by last year's heavy rains, which destroyed the main pipeline at Marareni.
Resignation of the management team on compulsory leave, pending thoroughly audit since inception of office. We can't be paying bills, but the company fails to to clear electricity bills.
Wananchi wanataka kuelezewa kile kinachoendelea. Unapata watu wote wamefunga ofisi, watu wote wametoroka, wamekimbia wananchi. Ni nani anaweza kuwaeleza wananchi haya matatizo?
Ilikuwa ni kwa sababu ya madeni ya stima. Na deni lilikuwako ni kubwa ambalo limeaccumulate ndani ya miezi kama 6 au zaidi, deni la milioni 10.5. Na tukafanya kikao na mstahiki governor, kaona mbinu zote tuliita shirika la Kwale Water. Tukawauliza muna mbinu gani la kuweza kumaliza ile deni. Kwa sababu mapato yamekuwa haba, uwezo wa kulipa ukawa umepungua. Serikali kama mwenye jukumu la kusambaza maji ikatoa uamuzi kwamba tulipe lile deni la milioni 10.5.
Now, police in Kitale have arrested 3 suspects transporting counterfeit goods using a lorry. Acting on a tip-off from members of the public, Trans Nzoia West OCPD Jackson Mwenga said the police tracked the lorry and found it was ferrying 35 bags of animal feeds, which were mixed with soil. He says police are still investigating to assess the value of the feeds and where they were being ferried to. He says the feeds were not certified by the Kenya National Bureau of Standards. The driver of the lorry and his conductor were arrested and are facing charges of being in possession of goods which lack certification. Mwenga has called on residents to be careful and look out for proper certification by KEBS before purchasing them.
Pata tip kwamba kuna gari inasafirisha bidhaa ambapo hazijakuwa sio zile zimehalalishwa. Wakaenda wakaitrace mahali ilikuwa na wakapata occupants 3 walikuwa kwa hiyo lori. Wakaoji na wakaangalia wakaona kwamba kweli iko 35 ya chakula ya vifuko chumvi ambayo stamp. Hiyo ni kumaanisha kwamba haijahalalishwa na ifai kuuzwa kwa market.
It is the second hour of the news center. We take another short commercial break. Do stay with us. When we come back, take a look at other news, including what's making headlines on the international scene. Stay with us.
This is KTN News.
Na William, mimi nitakuwa naenda nyumbani.
Hakika tunaenda Canaan.
The punishment for high treason, it is death.
Fight corruption or resign.
How can you sell room moja kwa Mombasa County kwa 3,000?
Wanafanya ukuzi hapa, wanakula CDF kila siku. Wanafikiri ni yao.
How can a thief audit a thief?
Let us dedicate and rededicate ourselves to doing it and to renewing this nation.
We shall organize and oppose what we have not been consulted.
Wait for consultations. Let us get work done.
To give us your views on that, and in fact, officers, you've talked about the forms 34A.
It was a political decision.
But
it was
you
not
accepted
legal.
the judgment. We have to get down and determine that.
Everything is debatable.
The goal is to win.
We failed to even hold our leaders accountable.
Watch KTN News round the clock on Signet Channel 32, DSTV Channel 274, GoTV Channel 94, Zuku Channel 14, and on Bamba TV Channel 2.
How do you know one's talent? Most often, we guess it using our naked eyes. That is why Dr. Humphrey Obora, through his trusted affiliates, explains the process of finding talent at his clinic.
And the main reason is to find out what is your spirit and what is your soul in terms of psychology, and that determines what we call BPT, or basic personality trait of a person.
Watch KTN News round the clock on Signet Channel 32, DSTV Channel 274, GoTV Channel 94, Zuku Channel 14, and on Bamba TV Channel 2.
I must register my disappointment that 3 state parties have decided to withdraw from the statute. While acceding or withdrawing from any treaty is a sovereign act that duly deserves respect, any act that may undermine the global movement towards greater accountability for atrocity crimes and a rule-based international order in this new century is surely, when objectively viewed, regrettable. Despite the sensational headlines, this is not a crisis for the Most High system, but a setback in our joint efforts towards achieving a more peaceful, a more just world.
This is KTN News.
Good morning and welcome back to News Center. We continue taking a look at us making headlines in the country and beyond. And we begin here in Kenya, where the government is committed to provide youth with quality training facilities that will help them acquire skills to compete for the job market and promote self-employment. Speaking at the National Training and Industry Training Authority, NITA, when she inspected the institution, Cabinet Secretary, East African Community, Labour and Social Protection, Phyllis Kandie, said the government had an elaborate plan to improve training facilities in all government institutions. She made it clear that government was keen on expanding the capacity of NITA to enable it to accommodate more interns who will be equipped with appropriate knowledge.
It's all cotton. This is a cotton processing plant. It's all cotton.
Clearly what we have seen here is NITA does not have the capacity to train the 500,000 people, for example, in agro-processing, in leather, in textile, and in construction that we want to embark on during the next 5 years. So relooking at what they can do, relooking at their needs, linking what they are doing with what other organizations like TVETs are doing is all a very critical part. But it is the beginning of a process that we have initiated to make sure that the relevant stakeholders look at this to see how we can improve the training of our young men and women in the country.
Meanwhile, the High Court has ordered the scrutiny and recount of votes for Embakasi South, a member of Parliament of National Assembly, in a petition filed by ODM's Sumra Ishadali Mohammed. Justice Grace Nzioka directed the exercise shall be carried out under the supervision of the Deputy Registrar and in the presence of all the parties in the petition. She said the scrutiny and recount is suitable of small margin difference of result as it is with the petitioner Sumra and the second respondent in the petition, a member of Parliament Julius Mawade.
I have I order that the exercise of the scrutiny and recount shall be carried out under the direct supervision of the registrar, in this case the Deputy Registrar of this court, to be assisted by 1 or 2 judicial officers as she may deem necessary, and shall confine the exercise to the polling stations stated.
We wish to allow the court process to continue and to its finality.
There is a video that, that is on social media that actually shows the petitioner, that is Mheshimiwa Sumra, carrying and bringing boxes and having access to the parliamentary boxes. The boxes that that were being in question at that time were only the presidential boxes, but my brother Sumra had access to the ballot boxes for approximately 3 hours or so in a different point from where they brought them later on.
Elsewhere, a group of enraged students from Kisii County have asked land cartels and corrupt brokers to desist from threatening land officials at the Kisii Land Office. Addressing the press in Kisii Town, the residents warned politicians who lost in the last general election to stop frustrating the new Kisii Lands Registrar, who has announced that all fake title deeds will be revoked. They now have threatened to name corrupt cartels in the county. The group said they will ensure that new land officials continue to work in a free and secure environment, and asked police to investigate the matter. They say they cannot sit down and watch since Kisii County for very many years lacked a competent lands registrar.
We want to tell the cartels in Kisii counties, your days are numbered. Again, we want to inform the authorities, that is the county commander, our county commissioner, that whatever which is happening and the people who are trying to put our land registrar at the receiving end, we are not going to allow it. We have much confidence in him, and we are going to work hand in hand with the land registrar to see that we have delivered Kisii County from this vice of.
There is no way our people can stand to fight one of us who is trying to make things right. Our land registrar is doing the things in the right way, and we really support him. And for this matter, and because we know what he's doing is right, those people who are grieved that they can now not penetrate, they cannot do their dubious businesses, they are now ganging up against him. We want to sound a warning to them that we, the people of Kisii County, and also the youths who are seeing the future being bright, we can't leave them darken our future.
And now look at news making headlines beyond the borders. With low levels of rain expected for the 5th consecutive rainy season, the United Nations is appealing for $1.6 billion to provide life-saving aid to 5.4 million people affected by the ongoing drought in Somalia. The appeal is contained within the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs 2018 Humanitarian Response Plan for Somalia. It also states that the number of Somalis in need of assistance is currently estimated as 6.2 million, or more than half of the country's population. About 3.3 million of those require urgent intervention, and 1 million are living in resettlements for internally displaced persons. In 2017, Somalia averted a famine through the combined efforts of the federal government, the UN, and international donors, who together helped mobilize $1.3 billion in humanitarian aid for the country.
Life-saving assistance. As always, children are the most vulnerable. We estimate by the end of this year, 1.2 million children could be malnourished.
It would be, however, unfair not to recognize and profoundly thank our donors who provided record levels of funding in 2017, approaching nearly 1.3 billion. As the humanitarian coordinator said earlier, this unprecedented level of funding towards famine prevention, the largest amount contributed towards humanitarian response in the history of our country, saved millions.
Suspected Boko Haram suicide bombers killed 12 people and injured 48 others in an attack on Wednesday on the northeastern Nigeria city of Maiduguri. According to officials from the State Emergency Management Agency, for 2 Bono members struck a market in the Muna Garage area on the outskirts of Maiduguri late on Wednesday afternoon. Muna Garage is a site for a camp of displaced people and a frequent target of Boko Haram attacks. In recent weeks, Nigeria's military has embarked on an offensive against the Islamist insurgency in the northeastern state of Borno, the epicenter for much of the conflict, which began in 2009. But that has not stopped Boko Haram's attacks, which target both civilians and the military.
Tell them that you people should pass now. It's getting tonight. Let them pass. Audu.
Still in the West, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo on Wednesday vowed a no let-up in security after an investigation was launched into a possible extremist plot in the capital. 3 men have been charged with possession of explosives after suspected hand grenades were found in the Odokdor area of Accra. Akufo-Addo says the extremist threat was a reality for all of us, and Ghana, in principle, cannot be exempt as a potential target.
Ghana, in principle, cannot be exempt as a potential target. So the security preparedness of our country is an extremely important matter. I think that Ghana is stable, Ghana is secure, Ghana is safe, and I'm certainly going to do everything I can to make sure that that reality of Ghana continues.
At the gathering, we don't know what will happen next. So we are all at risk. And we need the government to take this matter seriously.
These traders, we've catch them up. We don't know whether they are in gang or whatever. So what I would suggest is we should try, and then the security should be tight at our borders so that there won't be anything like those things.
Prominent Ethiopian opposition leader Merera Gudina was freed from jail on Wednesday after the government dropped charges against him as part of a wider prisoner amnesty. In his first reported comments after his release, Merera urged the government to hold honest negotiations with the political organizations to consolidate a national consensus. Merera is the first high-profile dissident to be freed since Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn announced earlier this month that Ethiopia would release an unspecified number of jailed politicians. He is among 528 people whose charges were dropped this week by Ethiopia's Attorney General.
The members will decide in the next days and the weeks what to do and what not to do, especially how to deal with the government call for national dialogue. If it is real and honest, we are for it.
Economic growth in Africa picked up steam last year and is set to accelerate strongly in 2018, but massive investments are needed in infrastructure. According to the African Development Bank, growth in Africa rose from 2.2% in 2016 to 3.6% in 2017 and is likely to rise to 4.1% in 2018 and 2019. Last year's part has a range of explanations, including a recovery in prices for oil, which helped petroleum exporter Nigeria, Africa's most populous country. East Africa is the most dynamic region in terms of growth, with 4.9% in 2016, which rose to 5.6% in 2017, and a projected 5.9% in 2018 and 6.1% in 2019.
African Economic Outlook we just released provided the estimate for this year, which is 3.2 for Africa. higher than what the continent achieved last year, which was 20.6. And we expect for the next 2 years Africa to grow on the average above 4%. We have made a new estimate, 130 to 170 billion US dollars every year is needed to unlock Africa's potential.
British lawmakers voted in favour of the government's legislative blueprint for Brexit on Wednesday, making a victory for Prime Minister Theresa May over political opponents who want a softer approach to leaving the European Union. The European Union bill was approved by a 324 to 295 vote in the 650-seat lower house, a milestone on the long road towards cementing legal foundations of Britain's departure from the bloc. The bill repeals the 1972 law that made Britain a member of the EU and transfers EU laws into British ones.
Order. Order.
The ayes to the right, 324. The noes to the left, 295.
The ayes to the right, 324. The noes to the left, 295. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock.
This bill is essential for preparing the country for the historic milestone of withdrawing from the European Union. It ensures that on day one we'll have a statute book that works, delivering the smooth and orderly exit desired by people and businesses across the United Kingdom and being delivered by this government.
We've been talking to a brick wall. The government has not accepted any of the points that the opposition have made. They've conceded some ground on their own side. They have not taken seriously the propositions and the arguments that we put forward on this side. And that is unusual in my experience in dealing with bills.
All right, and in the world of sport, Lionel Messi missed a penalty as Barcelona's 29-match unbeaten record came to a shuddering halt at rivals Espanyol. Messi saw his spot kick saved by Diego Lopez before Espanyol substitute Oscar Melendo scored a memorable winner 2 minutes from time in the first leg of the Copa del Rey quarter-final. Barcelona went into the game on the back of an impressive comeback victory over Real Sociedad in La Liga and eager to extend their undefeated run to 30 games.
In the quarter-finals of the Copa del Rey, the holders were seeking the upper hand in the two-legged tie and had the lion's share of possession. But the visitors struggled to breach Espanyol's defence. After missed efforts from Lionel Messi and Gerard Piqué, Denis Suarez fluffed his lines with the goal at his mercy. A dominant Barca were awarded a penalty in the second half when Sergio Roberto was brought down on the edge of the area. But the scores remained deadlocked as Diego Lopez shut out Lionel Messi from the spot. Barca looked as though they would have to settle for a goalless draw, but worse was to come for the La Liga frontrunners. Substitute Oscar Melendo beat Jasper Cillessen with 2 minutes to go to end the Blaugrana's 29-game unbeaten run. Ernesto Valverde's side were stunned in the Catalans' first derby defeat since 2009.
And Chelsea advanced into the fourth round of the FA Cup after an incident-filled penalty shootout win, of which Norwich saw both Pedro and Alvaro Morata sent off, and confusion over the video assistant referee system. Both sides hit the bar in the first half before Michy Batshuayi broke the deadlock in the 55th minute, scoring Chelsea's first goal in nearly 6 hours. However, after Josh Murphy struck the post and Willy Caballero denied James Maddison, Norwich levelled deep into injury time while Jamal Lewis headed from team closest cross.
Road, Chelsea welcomed Norwich to Stamford Bridge. This was the third FA Cup third-round replay between the two sides in the competition's history. The Blues had won both previous encounters and started strong. Cesar Azpilicueta came close to turning it in on the stretch at the back post. Danny Drinkwater, a Premier League winner with Leicester City, was then denied by the frame of the goal. Michy Batshuayi almost gifted Norwich the opener with a horrible pass that went straight to Nelson Oliveira. The Portuguese skimmed the top of the crossbar. But Batshuayi grew in confidence as the game wore on, and the Belgian forward got the breakthrough for Chelsea. The Canaries almost equalised in the second half as Josh Murphy's shot cannoned off the far post. Willie Caballero then made a brilliant save to keep the Blues ahead, saving from James Maddison. At the other end, Willian pulled the ball back for Drinkwater on the edge of the area, but he fired his shot over. Spaniard Alvaro Morata went close late on after meeting Drinkwater's fizzing delivery. With time almost up, Norwich stunned the Blues to send the game into extra time.
It's 1-1. It's amazing. And it's Lewis, Jamal Lewis, the left back, with virtually the last touch of the 90 minutes.
Norwich goalkeeper Brian Gunn produced 2 top saves in the first half of additional time to keep both Willian and Morata at bay. The Canaries were still within a shout of upsetting the English champions. Chelsea's players were losing their cool. Pedro was sent off for a second bookable offence. And with time almost up, Morata was booked for diving and then was shown a second yellow card for arguing with the referee. The Blues, though, had Caballero to thank in the shootout. The former Manchester City man came up trumps. Well, the home side made it 5 from 5 from the spot. Chelsea 5-3 victors on penalties secure their passage to the 4th round, where they'll face Newcastle United.
Meanwhile, Sevilla registered a 2-1 win over Atletico Madrid in the first leg of their Copa del Rey quarterfinals at the Wanda Metropolitano. Franco Vasquez had a great opportunity to give the visitors the lead in the second minute after carving out space in the box, but his left-footed shot could not find the target. Pablo Sarabia also had another chance for the visitors in the 12th minute from a similar position, but he also blazed his strike over the bar.
9 points behind La Liga log leaders Barcelona. Atletico Madrid hosted Sevilla in the first leg of the Copa del Rey on Wednesday evening. It was the men in black, Sevilla, who started the match on the front foot after Pablo Sarabia did well to bring the ball under his control before unleashing a shot that sailed wide off the bar. 9 minutes later, and it was the hosts who were on the attack. Diego Costa came within inches of opening the scoring had it not been for some fantastic keeping from Sergio Rico. The keepers were embroiled in their own personal battles of who can make the best save on the night, as Atleti's Angel Moya pulled off a stunning save to keep Sergio Escudero's venomous strike out. The sides were all level at the break, and Madrid almost went ahead in a fortuitous way in the second stanza, but Frenchman Clement Langlet's defensive header bounced off the Sevilla upright. Atleti grabbed the lead not too long after that, as Costa fired home a rebound that put his side a goal up in the 73rd minute. Atletico Madrid's coach Diego Simeone was sitting easier on the bench, but not for long. Sevilla equalized as Moya failed to keep out a deflected strike. There was more drama late in the match as the visitors completed their comeback.
There's a way through here for Wissam Ben Yedder. Goal. It's Correa, in fact. Onto that, and Sevilla have turned it around.
A bitter loss for Simeone's Chargers, and all to play for in the return away leg next Thursday. 2-1 Sevilla.
And that sporting note brings us to a close on this edition of News Center this morning. Many thanks for watching. My name is Michelle Ngele. For more information, log on to our website, www.ktnnews.com. Have a good morning and enjoy the rest of your day.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
The 5,000 megawatts had been one of the cornerstones of a pledge by the Jubilee government. In an earlier interview with KTN, Energy CS Charles Keter had already made this point clear.
If we introduce the 5,000 or even the 3,000 or even another 1,000 megawatts right now, it will still be costly because the demand is not there.
Kenya currently has at least 4 million people connected to the national grid against a population of 42 million and counting.
It's not a question of getting 5,000. You can get 10,000 megawatts. But if you are, as a country, if you are doing 1,600 megawatts, what happened to the others? It's going to be very expensive because you will pay for that. Because most of the projects we get loans to build. So what happened when the time of paying the loans? If you have a grace period of 2 to 3 years, the power plants are ready, you have finished your grace period of 2 to 3 years, automatically, that is why we have been also saying we monitor the demand.
Currently, the country has an installed power capacity of 2,294 megawatts with peak demand of about 1,600 megawatts.
The demand at any one time is the maximum we are doing is about 1,600. That is one element which also is making the cost of power high, because when there is no demand, you cannot, you see, you run the machines, whether you have optimized customers or not. So that is where we have been doing in terms of generation.
The change of heart to live up to the promise was premised on a number of factors, including the depressed rainfall to the slowdown of some of the big-ticket projects.
Tumeongeza stima ya geothermal, tumeongeza transmission lines, na itawezesha sisi kuendelea na kutumikia wananchi na kuwapatia stima.
We have a program. In fact, we've already indicated the pipeline of projects where we are saying that by 2020-2021, Kenyan has a pipeline of projects of up to about 720 megawatts. We are not slowing down.